The house stood on a hill, looming, imposing, a relic of forgotten grandeur. Willow Manor, they called it, or as the braver kids whispered, the haunted house of Willow Creek. It was a Victorian mansion, once elegant, now crumbling. Paint peeled from its walls like shedding skin. Windows like empty eyes stared out blankly. The house had been empty for as long as anyone could remember. Local legend spoke of a family tragedy, a fire, screams in the night, a tale whispered from generation to generation. Some said the family never truly left, their souls trapped within the decaying walls. No one dared to venture near Willow Manor, except of course for Max Montgomery. Max was different, not in a peculiar wear-a-bucket-on-his-head way, but in a way that made him endlessly curious, particularly about things that others avoided. Mysteries were his oxygen, puzzles his lifeblood. He devoured mystery novels. Sherlock Holmes was his idol, Agatha Christie his guiding star. He yearned for a real-life enigma to solve. And Willow Manor, with its ghostly tales and forbidding facade, was a mystery begging to be unravelled. One humid afternoon, driven by a thirst for adventure, Max decided to confront the legend of Willow Manor. He told no one. He knew they wouldn't understand. They'd call him foolish, reckless. But Max, he knew better. He craved the thrill of the unknown. With a deep breath and a pounding heart, he approached the house. The rusted gate creaked open as if warning him back. He ignored it. Some mysteries are too enticing to resist. The air inside was stale, heavy with the scent of decay. Dust motes danced in the faint slivers of light that pierced the boarded-up windows. Each footstep echoed in the silence, a drumbeat in the stillness. Max wandered through darkened hallways, his hand trailing along cold, damp walls. Cobwebs clung to his skin like ghostly fingers. He coughed, the sound alien in the oppressive quiet. He felt a presence, a coldness that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. Then he heard it, a whisper, soft and mournful, carried on the edge of perception. He stopped, holding his breath, listening. It came again, a low moan filled with sadness and longing. It seemed to be coming from the room at the end of the hall. His heart pounded against his ribs, a frantic rhythm against his fear. He inched closer, drawn by an invisible thread of curiosity and dread. The door creaked open, revealing a dusty nursery. A rocking horse stood frozen mid-gallop. A doll lay discarded on the floor, its porcelain face cracked, a haunting smile etched across its features. And there in the corner, a rocking chair swayed gently, back and forth, as if pushed by an unseen hand. Max felt a cold shiver crawl down his spine. He knew then that the whispers, the legends were true. He was not alone. He turned to leave, his heart hammering in his chest. But something stopped him. A glint of metal beneath the rocking chair. He bent down, his fingers brushing against something cold and smooth. A locket. He picked it up, wiping away the dust. It was heart-shaped, engraved with a name, Eleanor. He opened it. Inside, a faded photograph of a young girl with sad eyes stared back at him. The whispering started again, stronger this time, filled with a deep, resonating sorrow. It seemed to be coming from the locket itself. Max knew he had stumbled upon something important, something tragic. He had to uncover the truth. Days turned into weeks as Max delved into the history of Willow Manor. He scoured historical records, pored over faded newspaper clippings, and listened to whispered tales from the town's oldest residents. Slowly, a tragic story began to emerge. Eleanor, he learned, was the daughter of the house. A bright, cheerful girl who loved to play in the manor's sprawling gardens. But her life was tragically cut short. She had drowned in the creek behind the house. Her body never recovered. The whispers, the cold spots, the rocking chair, it all made sense now. Eleanor was still there, her spirit tethered to the house, unable to find peace. But why? What was she trying to tell him? Max returned to the manor, the locket clutched tightly in his hand. He stood in the nursery, a sense of sadness washing over him. "Eleanor?" he whispered, his voice echoing in the stillness. "I know you're here. What is it you want?" A cold breeze swept through the room, extinguishing the lantern he carried. He was plunged into darkness, the only sound his own ragged breathing. Then a voice, soft but clear, filled the air. "Help me," the voice whispered. It wasn't a plea, but a statement, filled with a strange urgency. Max strained to see in the darkness, his heart pounding in his chest. "Help you with what?" Max asked, his voice trembling slightly. The locket felt heavy in his hand. He could feel a faint warmth emanating from it, pulsing with each whispered word. "The fire," the voice said, the word echoing around him. It wasn't an accident. Max froze. The fire. The tragedy that had driven the family from Willow Manor. The event that had shrouded the house in sadness and fear. It had always been attributed to a faulty fireplace, a tragic accident. But Eleanor was suggesting otherwise. "Who started the fire?" Max asked, his voice barely a whisper. He felt a cold dread creep up his spine. He was stepping into something dark, something dangerous. "He did," the voice whispered, filled with a chilling sadness. "My uncle, he wanted the house, and he took me with it." Max gasped. Murder! Eleanor wasn't just a ghost, she was a victim. Her uncle, driven by greed, had taken her life and made it look like an accident. The weight of her story, her pain, settled heavy on Max's shoulders. He had to do something. Fear warred with a newfound determination. He wouldn't let Eleanor's story remain buried. He would bring her justice, even if it was decades too late. He left the house, the locket a cold weight in his pocket, and went to the police. The police were skeptical at first. A child claiming to talk to ghosts, but something in Max's eyes, his unwavering certainty, convinced them to investigate. They found the uncle, a withered old man now, living a quiet life on the edge of town. The evidence, when they found it, was circumstantial but damning. Old financial records, whispers from the past, and the locket, which the man claimed he had lost years ago. The uncle confessed. He was old, he said, tired. He was ready to face judgment, both in this life and the next. With the truth revealed and justice served, Max returned to Willow Manor one last time. He stood in the nursery, the air no longer heavy with sadness, but with a sense of peace. He could sense Eleanor's presence, but it was different now. Lighter, freer. "Thank you," a voice whispered, so faint he almost missed it. The rocking chair swayed gently one last time before falling still. The locket in his hand felt warm, comforting. Max left the manor, the setting sun casting long shadows across the overgrown lawn. He didn't look back. He knew Eleanor was finally at peace. But as he walked away, he couldn't shake the feeling that some mysteries, even when solved, leave an indelible mark, and that sometimes the things we leave behind are more powerful than we could ever imagine. The house remained, still imposing, still a landmark in Willow Creek. But the whispers changed, no longer filled with fear, but with a quiet sadness, a reminder of a tragedy resolved and a young girl finally laid to rest.